Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Pinal Negrete. I am a character designer and concept artist, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about character design. Now, the first subject I want to talk about is something that if you are a little bit interested in character design, you probably have heard of, is silhouettes. This is probably the most well-known term in character design now. What is silhouette? Silhouette is the graphical two-dimensional most basic form of our characters. Here we have an example with Team Fortress characters. As you can see, we have already filled the whole counter of the characters in black, which gives us a flat view on the character. I would argue that probably the Grenadier and the Soldier are kind of similar in shape, but we have a distinctive silhouette for each one of the characters. This is a very clear objective when you're designing a character. You want it to be unique. Now, these I'm going to show you now. These are very iconic characters. You want something like this most of the time, but you can't expect to get this iconic right away, because along with the silhouette there comes a lot of background in the story and the characters they represent in our culture. Now, but you want to do something like that. You want to get to the point where you see the silhouette of your character and you know instantly what it is. Now, one of the most important parts of character design that people sometimes overlook is that it's not entirely wildly creative. Character design is about working towards a given objective. When you're designing a character, usually it's because you want to use that character in something, and that's your objective. You need to think what the character is made for. If it's for a comic book, a game, a movie, whatever it is for, you need to think of the objective. I see many times when I have given advice on designing characters that people start working the silhouettes or even working the outlines right away, and it ends up with a somewhat flat and boring character because it has no purpose. It's just a bunch of stuff that is put together into a frame, which is our body or whatever it is you're designing. So you need to think about what you're doing this for. For example, back in 2014, I was working for a game called Mind Dudes, in which I was given the task to design a miner. I had to think about it for a while, because if I were just to follow my first instinct, I would have probably just thrown a hard hat and a shovel. But when I was thinking about what it was for, it came around that this miner wouldn't use a shovel, would use a gun. So I had to include that in the design. So that's what you want to do. You want to think before you draw. If you start simply drawing, you won't get a cool design. Now, another important part of designing that is also overlooked most of the time is readability. Once you're working on your silhouette, you want it to be clear. In the examples I showed you before, you see that everything is really clear. For example, here in those three, you clearly see the shape of the face, the hands, feet, whatever it is that your characters are doing or characters has, you can spot it on the silhouette. If you just throw a bunch of stuff on it, it's gonna get hard on the eye of the viewer. This is what you don't want to do, because people, if they see the character from far away, they will be like, what the hell is that? And when they get closer, they will still be asking themselves, what is that, until they get to the minor details. It's way easier to say the tall dude to identify someone than say the guy with the pointy nose and small eyes. You want readability in your silhouettes. Now, the next part I want to hit, here, Mm-hmm. Yeah, is what are graphic forms? Graphic forms are what our characters are made of. This is a very important step psychological, and this will give your characters more depth and a greater impact on the viewer. When you're working your way through uh, graphic forms, you need to understand what those forms represent. Usually, rounder forms, and this is the most well-known concept of graphic design, is that rounder forms like this are gentle because they are huggable. You want to hug them, they are soft, and they are friendly towards the viewer. Pointy, like this, are dangerous, they can hurt you. So this is very basic shape design. If you want to do something more cute or more a little bit more gentle, you probably want to use rounder forms. And because if you use a lot of sharp forms in these, you will probably end up confusing the viewer. Now, I'm not telling you that you can't use sharp forms for a gentle character. You can use this to kind of give a plot twist to say, oh, the good-looking character is not bad, but it's something that you won't keep in mind. Now, I would say though that shapes has a lot more than just being round or pointy towards what the impact on the viewer is. For example, if we were to use this kind of pointy triangle, sorry I'm not very good today with the tablet, but you get my point, okay? Here, if I were to use this triangle, this is pointy, this is dangerous, you remember, this is dangerous, but it's also reliable in some way. It's like trustworthy. At least for me, that's what I see in it. Because it's very stable. You see, it's very wide at the bottom. You can't trust this body sometimes. I know, it's just a thought I have when I see the shape. Whereas if I use this shape, I'm gonna give you a better example in a few moments. If I use this shape, it's probably gonna be more aggressive because this is a shape we see a lot of times in very masculine and rough characters. Because you know we had a little head here, arms, and legs, and this guy is very buff and probably gonna hit you very hard. And this is another side of using shapes in your designs. You don't just think about round and sharp. You also you also need to keep considering about what the shape is like. If it is stable, if it's symmetrical, asymmetrical, if it's inverted, if it's long, if it's tall, whatever it is, you need to consider it all. Now, when you're designing, you probably don't want to think about all the rules, which I will be covering in next weeks. When you're designing, you don't want to think about all the rules at once because that's also going to give you a very boring design if you try to keep to a standard. The best way to do this is that these are reference points. If you do a design and you compare it to these rules, you can get a better result. Because let's say I do a design of a soldier and I want to emphasize the masculinity. Now, I probably do the design very quickly and then I step back a bit and say, well, does it get to the point? Then I start looking for these shapes. If it fits really well, then yeah, I did a point there. But I don't actively think of these things while I'm designing. Now, the example I want to show here with the triangle thing, here you are. It's saying this very quickly, as you can see. Sort of. My thought here was about a medieval king. As you can see, I have the two basic shapes I talked to you about sometime earlier. This on the left side here, sorry, not writing, yeah, right here has this kind of shape. So I said this kind of gives us the reliability on it. It's very wide at the bottom and kind of narrow at the point. This gives us someone who is very reliable, who we can expect something from. It's kind of predictable character and kind of gentle at some point. Now this, however, has this kind of triangle. I like this design actually. Now, this seems to me at least a little bit more aggressive. Like this guy is gonna chop your head off at any time. And this is basically what I was talking about. If you use your shapes to create character, you're gonna have a better character design. And what I was talking about earlier also about people just throwing stuff at the silhouette is that, for example, here, if I were to add, I want to add the spikes to this guy. Spikes here, and I know a crown, very crazy as crown here, like this, and I know this is still readable, but I can't really do it like they did. It's a total challenge for that. I really can't today. I don't know what to add because I think the design is already cool, so I don't know what to add. But people start placing stuff all over the place to a point where you can't tell what the hell is going on with the silhouette. For example, here you can see the shoulder blades right here. Probably this guy has a crown. I didn't draw it, but here's the head, and that's at least something. You have a big cape, a cross in the chest, a little kind of tunic here, and this is kind of readable. You can see what the character is about. But if I were to add a lot of stuff, it's gonna create a boring and confusing character. You want to keep them clean, you want to keep it simple, and then add details. Silhouette is just to create a compelling image, something that the actual viewer can relate to, something that is actually very clear. I can't emphasize enough about how important it is to get a clear silhouette. If we get back to our examples from before, Mickey here, you can tell it's Mickey wherever you see it because this arrangement of balls is just Mickey, but this is a very clear silhouette, even if it's not in a perfect pose. I wouldn't choose this pose for a silhouette. I want something that really brings all the extremities out of the silhouette, but this is the pose I found, so yeah. Now here you can see the hand is pretty evident here, the nose, ears, everything is pretty clear, but the details are inside the silhouette. Like here probably he has his little bones here, and the lines of the gloves probably around here. So you want to keep it simple on the silhouette. I'm not telling you to do simple characters, simply put only the necessary stuff to stick out of the silhouette, and the details will go smaller and better for the character design. You can break these rules, even though I wouldn't recommend you to do so to a larger extent, but you can break these rules and create awesome characters. The problem is that you need to know the rules to better learn how to break them. If you simply try to create characters without knowing anything about character design, it's gonna get you a hard time to create really good characters. I will try to answer any question you had about this class. I'm sorry this is kinda quick and short class today, but silhouette is kind of straight to the point, so I don't have much to explain. I will cover more about color design and shape theory and psychology a little bit later on the classes. Right now, assignments. I want you to create silhouettes like this, focusing on any shape you want. Okay, you simply draw the shape you want to create the character from, like this. If you're following us traditional media, it's gonna give you a hard time because you can't do the white thing very easily. But you can use a Sharpie marker, and it's totally alright. I've done this very times before. In fact, most of my character design I do it traditionally with a Sharpie marker or a brush with Indian ink. But yeah, you can totally follow up that way. So you want to create a shape, be it a triangle, circle, oval, square, whatever you want, and then do a character based on it. Okay? But remember, work towards a goal. You want to create at least some background to your character. Even if it's just for a one shot where you will only use it once in a single image, you want to give it some sort of background. Because, people don't simply appear there without a reason. They have a background, they have a story behind them that defines how they are today. And that's what we want to create with characters. So you want to work towards a goal and create characters with basic shapes. The subject is totally up to you. You just need to do at least 5 of them. These classes, like any art class, is not about just following the assignments and expecting to be a better artist at the end of the class. I'd recommend you, if you can, do more than 20, 30 silhouettes on your own. I'm asking you a minimum of 5 silhouettes, one a day until the next week, which is next Monday. And well, yeah, pretty much that's it for today, and thanks for watching.